The NHRA's westward march to the championship finale in Pomona, California has reached the halfway point of the postseason as we just wrapped up the Midwest Nationals here at Worldwide Technology Raceway here in Gateway. As you can see behind me is the St. Louis skyline, of course, with the iconic Gateway Arch, which represents the gateway to the west, as the NHRA has now wrapped up its final race east of the Mississippi River. As we get set for the final three races of the season in Dallas, Las Vegas, and Pomona, once again we are starting to see the championship battle start to morph into who are the heavy favorites for the categories. We saw major shakeups in both pro stock motorcycle and even some of the contenders in funny car as well as top fuel. Some of the heavy favorites for the championship are now starting to look more vulnerable as we head towards the final three races, opening the possibility up to a potential upset in terms of who can win this championship. A lot of drivers are still jockeying for position as they head into the Dallas Stampede of Speed for the Fall Nationals, and as we get set for these final three haymaker races, a lot of teams are still going to be left wondering, what do we need to do to try and signify our chances of winning a championship? We went through 4 rounds of eliminations. We only had 2 rounds of qualifying due to the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, as it came through St. Louis on Friday afternoon, bringing forth heavy rainfall, which has been the story for the entire Midwest and even the East Coast of the U.S. We want to send our condolences as well out to our friend at Competition Plus, Bobby Bennett, who lives down in South Carolina, who is dealing with some of these floodings. Our thoughts are with you this weekend as you deal with the power outages and still try to get things back to a sense of normalcy back home. As for the race, there is a lot to break down in terms of what happened today and how it affects the championship for the final 3 races of the season. So without further ado, let's get into your Gateway recap. In pro stock motorcycle, the big story came during round 2. Matt Smith, who won at Charlotte and took the points lead for the first time since 2022, suffered a major loss to Vans & Hines rider and 2003 world champion Gino Scali, who also defeated Gianna Evaristo in round 1 after a red light. The chaos would continue as third place in point standings, Richard Gadsden lost to Chase Van Sant, and fellow Matt Smith racing riders Angie Smith and John Hall also went out in round 2. With all MSR bikes out, it allowed Gaige Herrera to make his first final since his U.S. Nationals win back in Indianapolis. Gaige's road to the final saw him with a bye in round 1, defeating John Hall in the second and Hector Arana Jr. in the semifinals. Gaige would have to face off against Seattle winner Chase Van Sant, who in round 1 defeated Chris Bostick, Richard Gadsden in the second, and Gino Scali in the semifinals. In the final round, Chase would jump off the line first, but it would not be enough to overcome the Vans & Hines horsepower as Gaige Herrera muscled around Van Sant and captured his first win of the countdown and took back the points lead in pro stock motorcycle. In pro stock, the ongoing story of the Big Four KB versus Elite War raged on. This time, the added twist of the 4 representatives having to face their teammates in the semifinals. And once again, the finals will see Dallas Glenn facing off against Aaron Stanfield, with the winner taking the points lead entering Dallas. Dallas Glenn's road to the finals saw him defeat Cameron Caruso in round 1, Mason McGahey in the second, and Greg Anderson in the semifinals, while Aaron Stanfield would defeat David Quadra, Matt Harford, and his teammate Eric Enders in the semis. In the finals, both cars would leave evenly off the line, but Dallas Glenn's KB horsepower would overcome the elite driver and deny him a second Factory X double-up as he secured his second win in a row, strengthening his points lead. For funny car, the big question was who could stop the runaway train that is Austin Prock. Entering Sunday, he secured his third and #1 qualifier's hat out of the last 4 races and was close to beating the track record as well. In round 1, during a bye run, Austin would continue to seem unstoppable as he set the fastest ET of the season with a 3.814. Meanwhile, in round 1 as well, the big story was the incident involving Chad Green. After crossing the finish line, his car erupted into flames heading down the shutdown area underneath his body. He would climb out of the car okay, but it soon became a mad scramble in the pits for the team to try and turn around his car to get ready for a second round matchup against Blake Alexander. Chad Green's team would find themselves speeding through the staging lanes as his pair rolled up to the water box preparing for his run, barely making it a time to try and attempt the run. Disaster was struck again, however, as during the staging process, the team would discover a fuel leak on the car, forcing them to shut it off and abandon the run. That same trouble would follow points leader Austin Prock. During his round 2 matchup against Bob Tasker III, his car would explode as it crossed the finish line, destroying the body and possibly the chassis as well. While the team assessed the damage on the top end and prepared to roll back to the pits, some of the crew members already began unloading the backup chassis in preparation for a full turnover. The chassis would end up being fine, then as soon as Prock arrived to the pit, the Prock crew worked their magic and turned the car around and had a new body ready in no more than 30 minutes after sitting in pieces. It seemed as once again nothing would stop Austin Prock from going 3 in a row in a countdown sweep. However, a spun tire would ruin his chances as Jack Beckman advanced to his first final in 4 years. His opponent would be none other than fellow DSR alumni Ron Capps, who made his first final since Indianapolis. His road to the final saw him beat Buddy Hall in the first, Bobby Buddy III in the second, and Blake Alexander in the semifinals. In the final round, Ron would get the early advantage, but it wouldn't be enough to stop Jack Beckman to secure his first win since 2020 and bring John Forrest to second in the points. Top Fuel play host to the craziest rounds of eliminations in terms of potential championship contenders. Doug Coletta, who was hanging on by a thread to go back-to-back, was lucky just to qualify on Saturday after a botched first attempt. Doug would be forced to face off against Coletta teammate Sean Langdon, who would send him home early, now putting Doug almost a full race behind the points leader. For the remaining top 4, Sean Langdon would defeat Justin Ashley in the second round, while Antron Brown fell to Tony Schumacher, leaving Sean Langdon as a sole survivor of the championship favorites. His opportunity to steal the points lead would end in the semis as Steve Torrance defeated the Coletta driver to make his first final since the U.S. Nationals, after defeating Ida Zetterstrom in the first and TJ Zizzo in the second. His opponent would be none other than Tony Schumacher, who had a resurgence of a weekend similar to what we saw in Bristol. In round 1, he defeated Julian Natas, Antron Brown in the second, and Sean Reed in the semifinals. In the final round, Steve Torrance would blitz Tony at the line, but his car would begin to give out at the end, allowing Tony Schumacher to drive around and grab his second win of the season in his third final round. As for the points, Gaige Herrera resumed the points lead on top of the Pro Stock motorcycle standings, with Matt Smith's costly round 2 loss. It now gives Gaige an almost 2-round lead for the final 3 races of the season. As for Richard Gatson, his round 2 loss as well also sees him with a 3-round deficit over his Vance and Hines teammate. In Pro Stock, Dallas Glenn would strengthen his points lead over Aaron Stainfield, now extending it to a 31-point gap, equaling a little over 2 rounds of racing. The biggest loser of the weekend would be Troy Coughlin Jr., who after losing round 1, fell from 6th in the standings down to 8th. In the funny car, the gap would shrink for Austin Prock, losing an about 30-point advantage he had entering the event, but still having a controlling margin as he has a full race gap over Jack Beckman, whose win propelled John Forrest back around Bob Tasker III to take back the second position in the standings. Ron Capps' final round appearance would also move him around Matt Hagan up to the 4th position. Lastly, in Top Fuel, not much would shake up in terms of the championship placements. Antron Brown still holds on to the points lead, albeit losing a 20-point advantage he held over Justin Ashley. Sean Langdon and Doug Coletta still occupy the 4th and 5th, while Tony Schumacher's win moves him up to 6th and removes a 70 points from the leader, now still a distant 103-point margin. Once again, like usual, we do have highlights courtesy of NHRA and Fox, and we also had a chance to hear from our winners this afternoon in a post-race media conference. Let's hear the highlights and then see what they had to say.
(23 to the 37 of Gaige Herrera. He's going to make a contest out of it. Gaige Herrera will pick up win number 19 on his career, 6.805 at 198 miles an hour, outrunning the 6.86.8 at 195 of Chase Van Zandt.
Holding his first Wally of the countdown, Gaige Herrera just looked at that trophy and said, finally, and you will leave here with the points lead for the last 3 races. How can you start pulling away?
You know, we just got to keep going A to B, you know, make A to B runs all throughout the countdown. It's all about consistency. You know, you got to gain all the points you can. You know, I had an awesome motorcycle since the day we unloaded it Saturday after the rain delay, and it's been on rails. Andrew, Jay, Ray, Scott, Eddie, Richard, all the guys back at the shop. I mean, you know, we're just showing all their hard work, and I can't do any of this without them. You know, Byron, Terry, Vance Hines, Revzilla, Motul, Suzuki. I mean, this is for them, and we're going to try to keep this momentum going throughout the countdown, and can't ask to top off a better birthday weekend than getting the win.
Stanfield, the enemy at the gate. of the pro stock points, just 11 behind Glenn right now. 10 light for Dallas Glenn. Stanfield was 39, but does he have the quicker car? Across the stripe they go, and Dallas Glenn 6:57.7 beats a 6:58.6, and that was a romping, stomping performance by Glenn all day long.
Back-to-back wins for Dallas Glenn here in this NHRA countdown. Why are you stamping your name all over it?
Oh, you know, I really want this one, this season, and really want the championship. We've had several really great years, and I've always came up a little bit short, and I really, really want this one. I've been to 3 final rounds here. I always came up just a little bit short, and I really, really wanted it on that one. We drove over here from North Carolina last weekend, and the next day everything got washed out. So I don't really know exactly what we're going home to, but this one's for Rad Torque Systems, DPF Parts Direct, Summit, Jesse, KB Titan Racing, my whole family, everybody, my wife who still does all of my PR, and yes, we got points lead still.
And he might not get it today. Towards a 36 reaction time, and at the stripe is Tony Schumacher by 11 thousandths of a second. What a drag race. 371.8 beats a 376.3, and that's 2 wins on the season for this team.
Tony Schumacher has told us all day that this team is peaking at the right time with 3 races to go. You're an 8-time champion. Can you make it 9?
Redding hurt, but there's still time. It's just going to be one of those miraculous. What we got to do is stop those points leaders. Us running Antron, it was important, but hey, first of all, to my wife at home, I know you skipped this one with what the weather conditions look like. Love you. Can't wait to get home and see you. We got 3 more to go. We're going to go out and win. But if we can't sell some Leatherwood bourbon winning races, man, Snake Eater, remember, ask the stores. Joe from Texas, we love you guys. Rack Financial, all the people that, man, we were buried for a long time, but we're doing great now. Got a great race car. NHRA and the fans, you're the best, man. We love you. Wow.
Can Ron Capps get back into the winner's circle for the first time since Indy last year? Beckman's hanging into this one, and at the finish line, it's Beckman. For the first time since the 2020 season, he has won a funny car drag race. 385.6 beats a 388.
Jack, 4 years ago, you thought this journey as an NHRA funny car driver could be coming to a close. 4 years later, you were holding a Wally, and as a lover of history of this sport, this will be recorded as your win, but points for John Force. I want you to grab that trophy.
So this is John's trophy.
How symbolic is that?
Well, he'll tell me to take it home, but I got to thank John. I got to thank Robert Height for the confidence they had in me. All the sponsors. When Robert called me, he said, "Listen, here's the deal. If you want to do it, I still got to check all the boxes off." And they called Peak, and they went to Chevy, and everybody said, "Yeah, we're willing to let him get in there." They took a chance on me, and that group of guys right there on the Peak SS Camaro, they're the baddest in the country today, and we are going to savor this. It feels great to be back.
We've seen over the last couple of months that, contrary to popular belief, you're not invincible. You are just human. Is this kind of the thing you've been talking about for the last 2 years, that eventually these guys are going to figure it out and finally find a way to beat you? And do you enjoy that, considering that your guys' kind of mentality is going all out and laying everything you guys have on the track?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy that. I feel like, when I came aboard Madison Hines last year, I kind of gave them a little step, a little advantage, right, with my different riding style. It's helped capitalize on Andrew's tuning ability, which, obviously we've had a lot of rule changes because of it. But now the class, I feel, has stepped up as a whole, and it's been good. But, I mean, the parity, I feel, is very good right now, and it's making it a lot more interesting for sure.
So ever since Chicago, the story of the season has been kind of how you and Aaron have just been at each other's throat. As this countdown has gone on, has it got kind of frustrating with the fact that even when you're performing at your best and you're the runaway favorite, you just can't seem to get away from this guy to open up that points lead?
Yeah, a little bit. Every time, I was definitely the biggest Matt Hartford fan second round. Like I said earlier, when the guy that you're coming up against in points is right there alongside of you in the final, it makes it really hard to gain points on somebody. So, I'm definitely, it obviously shows he's a fantastic driver and he's good and he's definitely earning his way there. But I would just really like for him to lose just a little bit earlier to make this a little more comfortable. But now, it would probably be better for the fans and everybody if it was a tight race, even if I don't want it and it's going to drive my wife nuts with stress. No, we're just going to go up there and try to keep doing exactly what we've been doing the last 2 races. We've been racing fantastic. We've been driving well. The engine's doing exactly what it's supposed to do, and we just need to keep going, keep the momentum going, and Dallas should be fun. I love going to that track, and I know that Rad Torque Systems, the owners will be there, so it'll be another. I really want to get a win for them and try to get them a couple cowboy hats.
When we were back in Chicago, the big story was what it would mean to you to get the win in your home state for Don after what happened in the offseason with his passing. Considering this race is still in Illinois, does that add a little bit of personal significance to this win to be able to win in Illinois?
Well, I'm a God believer. I believe in Jesus Christ, and I think He's following me everywhere. And I'm not sure if that's good or bad, but it's so cool. Powick winning with my dad's colors on the car. I'm so proud of him, and he's proud. My dad, looking down, that was just Angel riding with us. So yeah, we're close to home. A lot of friends and family here, and what a day. Great question though.
When I talked to you at Indy, one of the things I brought up was the possibility of this opening up another opportunity at a full-time ride. With how you've performed over these last 4 races, what would your message be to any of the team owners out there that may be thinking about a new car or may be still yet to fill their driver role for next year? What is your message for why they should be looking at you to fill that seat?
I left the trophy outside. That would be my application and resume for that deal. I am tickled. Everybody's got an ego. I think if you know me, you'd know I'm outgoing. I can be sarcastic. I don't have a big ego. I wish I had a bigger ego. I'd be a better funny car driver, honest to God. Because when you think that way, like that your you-know-what doesn't stink, you're usually better at doing stuff like this. I'm one of those normal people that doubts myself a bunch. But I must have done something right for the last 14 years that Robert Hite called and said, John and I talked, we want you to drive our funny car. So I don't know that it would be necessary to say something to other people, but out of sight is out of mind in this sport. And there's a lot of good drivers on the sideline. And I don't know what next year holds. I don't know if John wants to get back in the car. I don't know if Robert wants to get back in the car. I'm going to enjoy the hell out of the rest of this season, though, because if this is all I get is these 8 races, and we've already won for John Force, and we are now 1-2 in the points in the JFR Camaros here, man, I thought I got all my dreams times 10 with my 14-year career with Don Schumacher. This is, somebody referred to it as Jack 2.0, getting a chance to come back and do it again with the top flight team and win races. So I'm going to be doing the best I can to enjoy the moment. I will go back and fix elevators Tuesday. I will have the biggest damn smile on my face, I can guarantee that.
So that is going to wrap up our content here from the Midwest Nationals. Just because we're going to be having an off week this upcoming weekend doesn't mean we're going to be stopping making videos, as this weekend we're going to be returning to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway to cover the SRO GT World Challenge for the Indianapolis 8-hour. It is an amazing event that we had a lot of fun covering last year, and we're going to have a lot more fun covering in this year. But the following week we'll be back down in Dallas for the Stampede of Speed to cover the Fall Nationals as we get set for the final 3 races, as the points still continue to heat up as we get ready to crown ourselves our 2024 champions. Thank you guys so much for watching. Once again, if you guys want to keep up with everything going on in drag racing, be sure to subscribe today to the channel so you don't miss any of the upcoming content in the NHRA Mission Foods drag racing series. Also, be sure to follow me on all the social media pages down below, and Mighty Mac 03 on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, where we'll be posting updates all weekend long. And until the Indianapolis 8-hour or the NHRA Fall Nationals, this has been Mighty Mac. We'll see you next time.